Chapter 26. Payden. Wind whips at my hair and stings my cheeks. It's biting in a way that's oddly refreshing after the stuffy coach ride between the uncharacteristically quiet brothers. I've never been so close to the sea. Never dared. Now I'll be sailing over it. We stand at the edge of the only rickety dock left in Ilia. Inky water slaps against the long posts supporting each wood slab we stand on. I breathe in the salty air, scan the ever-stretching horizon. It's terrifyingly exhilarating, this something that finds such strength in the ever-changing. But what floats atop the water is nearly as breathtaking. The ship looms to our left, casting an ominous shadow over us. The dark wood spans several 100 feet long, coming to a slight point at one end. 2 large sails are bunched tightly against the tall masts, ready to be reunited with the wind. My gaze travels over the expanse of wood before falling back to the waves lapping beneath. Is the water always this choppy? I ask, looking over at the brothers. No, Kai answers dully. I let out a sigh of relief. Well, that's good. It's usually worse. And just like that, my chest is tightening once again. Kit claps his enforcer on the shoulder. Ever the optimist, brother. The king seems to be in higher spirits this morning, despite our heavy conversation last night. Or perhaps it's simply Kai who brightens his mood. Yes, I muse. Very comforting. The sound of approaching footsteps has us turning. It's Callum striding down the uneven dock, clutching a small stack of books beneath his arm. To his right, the court spokesman resides with a tight smile. Easel steps forward before curtly relaying information. Your trunks have been loaded onto the boat and brought to your cabins. The crew is ready to depart when you are. My stomach churns at the thought of abandoning solid ground, but I force myself to nod convincingly. Noticing my worry, or rather, reading my anxious thoughts, Callum asks, May I have a moment with Payden? The brothers oblige, conversing quietly as they head down the dock. Tucking his hands and the books within them behind his back, Callum leads me slowly to the end of the dock. You're doing well, you know. I kick a rock off the wood plank and hear it hit the water with a soft plunk. It doesn't feel like it. Respect is earned, he says softly. It takes much time. But once you finish these trials, things will begin to move very quickly. I nod, gaze lingering on the crashing waves below. I'll be married. You'll be a queen, he adds. And I'll still be ordinary. The words have him turning to look at me, blonde hair catching in the light. At the feel of his piercing gaze, I wonder briefly what it is he's gleaning from my thoughts. Yes, you always have been and always will be, even with a crown on your head. We stand in silence at the edge of the dock, watching the sun shimmer against the water as it tiptoes slowly into the sky. I glance over at him, committing this peaceful moment to memory. Thank you, I breathe into the crisp air, for everything, but mostly for being here with me. You're a comfort in the castle, I laugh sadly, and in this whole new life I've been thrown into. His smile is reserved. I am here to help in any way. He pulls the books from behind his back, presenting the worn covers to me. In fact, I brought these for your journey. They may help pass the time. Reaching out, I run a hesitant finger over a familiar burgundy spine. Thank you, but I'd hate to ruin your things if we somehow end up in the sea. You don't have to worry about that, he cuts in softly. Well, ruining my books, that is. These belong to you. My eyes snap to his. What? When your father died and you disappeared, he starts slowly, I grabbed some of your favorite stories for safekeeping, and I hope to give them back to you one day. With every word, the books seem to familiarize before my eyes. Each faded cover holds a distant memory, a fleeting image of a man in his reading chair and a little girl sitting at his feet. He used to read these to me. He did. Callum gently hands me the 4 thin books. I believe you even wrote a few notes in there as a child. I can't imagine I had anything important to add. I say, laughing lightly. Quickly flipping through one of the books, I find a small rose sketched onto the inside cover. The words, "For Payden," are scrolled beneath it in vaguely familiar, looping handwriting. He eyes me carefully. "You'd be surprised." With a small smile, he adds, "I'll have them brought to your cabin." I suppose he can likely hear the gratitude in my thoughts, but that doesn't seem like quite enough. So I emphasize the unspoken words with an impulsive throwing of my arms around him. This makes him hesitate for a moment, stutter in confusion, and finally return the sentiment. With his arms circling my shoulders, I whisper one last, "Thank you." We stand in the ship's shadow, all staring at the vessel meant to carry us across the treacherous water. A crowd has formed on the rocky shore, where hundreds of eyes hope to get their last glimpse of the hated Ordinary. Imperials barricade the dock, halting anyone who dares push their way towards us. But no one makes a move, content on letting the shallows have their way with me. In their eyes, I'm as good as dead. The king glances over at his enforcer. "Changed your mind yet, Kai?" "Unfortunately not," he sighs. "But do try not to miss me too much. I've stationed extra Imperials with you while I'm gone, so you certainly won't be feeling lonely." "Oh yes, I look forward to not a single moment of privacy." The humor in Kit's voice dissolves quickly. "Please come home, Kai. I can't have you dying on me too." I look away, as if that could save me from this awkward intrusion of their conversation. Still, I hear the enforcer's earnest response. "I'll be back. Death fears me, remember?" I can hear an inkling of that cocky bastard slipping into his voice when he says, "And when I return, we'll celebrate with another dance between the three of us. So long as Payden doesn't purposely step on my toes this time." I have no recollection of that, I state defensively. It must have been subconscious. Kit laughs, and the sound bleeds into his next words, all of them aimed at his brother. "Well, she kept trying to jump onto my back, remember? And then blamed her failed attempts on the constricting dress," Kai adds with a punch-worthy smile. "Trust me, I remember. The moment replays every time I close my eyes." "All right, that's enough," I huff. "Remember this conversation when I suddenly push you overboard." "Oh, you can try, Gray," Kai mocks with a crooked grin. "But don't blame your constrictive sleeves when you aren't able to." Kit's laugh nearly drowns out my words. "That's it, I'm getting on this damn boat." I step out onto the plank, forcing my gaze ahead and not on the raging water beneath me. The voices behind grow muffled by the lapping waves, but Kai's stands out, even among the sea. "Take care of yourself while I'm gone. Get some rest. Promise me." "I promise," Kit returns quietly. "I would ask you to ensure Payden does the same, but I already know you will." My heart quickens its pace as I step onto the ship's deck. Several seconds pass before the enforcer follows, wood groaning beneath his boots. As I lean over the rail, Kit's gaze finds mine from the dock below before he offers a mouthed, "Good luck." "Kai!" The shout rings through the air, carried on the wind. Kai whips around, scanning the wall of Imperials on the other end of the dock where a tangle of limbs attempts to break through. "Kai, wait!" But he does nothing of the sort. Instead, he's striding towards that familiar voice, shoving Imperials aside to reach the lanky boy. Even from this distance, I can see tears brimming in Jax's eyes. He stands there, panting before his brother, and when he opens his mouth, the choked sob that escapes it makes my breath catch. "Don't go," he begs Kai. "Please, don't go. I might never see you again." A hiccup cuts off his words at the same moment Kai wraps his arms around the boy, holding him tight. He says something I can't hear, something that is likely meant to be a comfort. Jax squeezes his eyes shut as he grips the back of Kai's shirt in his fists. "My parents never came back," I hear him say, voice breaking. A piece of me shatters at the sound of it, at the grief already filling his voice. Jax has lost so much, so young, and I'm watching him beg Kai not to be the next person he mourns. Sniffling, Jax lets himself be pried away from his big brother. More hushed words are exchanged before Kai ruffles the boy's hair for what may be the last time. Then he turns slowly, solemnly, and strides back to the ship. Shoulders tight and silence heavy, Kai joins me on board. The enforcer nods to the awaiting crew while I manage to muster up a smile. Chaos ensues shortly after our acknowledgement of them as men and women begin bustling around the ship. Orders are shouted suddenly, setting every person into motion with a different task to complete. With a subtle hand at my lower back, Kai guides me to the head of the ship where we watch the sails unfurl above us. Just the sheer amount of cloth would have Adina gawking, and I cling to that thought, that image of my smiling A. My gaze travels to the large man at the helm, his hand gripping one of the many spokes adorning the massive wheel. His hat, attire, and shouted commands tell me that this is our captain for the journey to come. He looks weathered by the sea, and that alone is a comfort. Perhaps we have a chance at survival after all. Thick ropes dangle from every corner of the ship, swaying from the masts towering over us. I'm in awe of such structured mayhem. It takes every scuttling crew member and their seemingly unimportant tasks to persuade the vessel into gliding across the water. Of course, the gusts on board certainly aid in the ship's quick pace. They guide chilling blasts of air into the sails, all while tellies hold down ropes and rigging with nothing but their minds. My gaze wanders over each soul, attempting to coax the sea into something tamer, right down to the hydros leaning over the railings, trying to smother what waves crash into the hull. When the ship starts moving, my attention falls to the dock that slowly begins slipping away from us. My knuckles grow white around the wooden railing with each second the wind takes me farther from solid ground. "You're going to be fine, Pei," Kai murmurs beside me. "Right," I say distractedly. "I know." "Is that why you're giving yourself splinters?" Dragging my gaze from the distancing dock, I look down at the hand I've clamped around the railing. "I'm just nervous." He leans his forearms on the rail. "You usually are around me. Don't hurt yourself over it, darling." I turn to face him with a scoff. "I'm nervous about the journey, you prick." "Not even 20 minutes on the sea and you've already come up with a new nickname for me. I'm sure many more will come to mind in the days ahead." His eyes roam over me, and I'm reminded how much I enjoy the feel of it. "I missed you," he finally murmurs, voice low. Something flutters in my chest, and it might just be those nerves he determined I feel around him. "I never left." A shake of his head. "And yet I felt the absence of you all the same." He looks out at the water, his gray eyes mirroring the sea before us. "I suppose that is my sentence for the rest of this life." I scramble for words, fight for the strength to speak them once they're found. But the moment shatters when a figure approaches. The captain extends a hand to Kai, shaking it sternly. "Enforcer, sir, it's an honor to be sailing with you." When he turns to me, his greeting is far less enthusiastic. With a nod of his head, he offers a soft, "My lady." I nearly jump when he claps his large hands together. "Now, I'm Captain Tori, and this beauty," he smacks the railing beside me, "is the Reckoning." The long brown hair beneath his hat ripples when he shakes a thick finger at us. "I haven't sailed in nearly a decade because of that damned decree to stay out of these damned waters." His dark eyes flick to me. "Excuse my language, miss, but shit, if you ask me, this voyage is long overdue. We need to take back the shallows." He all but caresses the railing. "And she is our reckoning." "Of course." My tone has Kai's lips twitching. "Now, what was that about not sailing for nearly a decade?" "Well," Tori stutters, "the shallows has been legally off limits, so this will be my first crossing in some time. But I assure you," he booms, "that the crew and I are up to the challenge." Kai nods to the captain. "Well, we greatly appreciate your willingness. It's not easy to find sailors in Ilya anymore." My stomach churns at the reminder. Ilya's experience with the shallows is as limited as it is alarming, and the countless shipwrecks are a testament to that. No one of sane mind has set sail on this sea in nearly a decade, which would make this crew incredibly out of practice. Any hope of survival has severely dwindled. "Well, you won't see me running from these waters, sir," the captain practically yells with a puff of his chest. "Not even the creatures could keep me away." He points to a thin scar slashing across his weathered cheek. "Oi, but the devils have tried." He laughs, belly shaking beneath his buttoned coat. An uncomfortable sound climbs from my throat while Kai manages a polite laugh with the man. After taking a moment to recover, Tori continues with a wheezing cough. "Now, let's get you acquainted with the reckoning, eh?" After an incoherent shout from the captain that makes me flinch, a man hurries over to his side. "This," Tori says nonchalantly, "is my first mate, Leon. He will be showing you to your rooms and around the ship." Leon nods curtly. His dark skin glistened with sweat beneath the bandana tied around his head. The loose white blouse he wears catches the wind like a sail of its own, the fabric flapping against him. Warm brown eyes fall to me, and for once, it's not hatred I see within a gaze, rather curiosity. "If you need anything," the captain continues, "it will be Leon here you go to. I'll be busy ensuring this damn ship makes it to shore." He laughs deeply at his own words, even while stepping away with a toothy grin. "Leon will give you a nice little tour of our lovely lady, but don't get too comfortable. We'll be docking at Isram in 6 days' time. Hopefully." With another bellowing laugh, he's heading for the helm, coat billowing behind him.
We'll return to the story soon, but for now, let the soft rhythm of music wash over you like a gentle wave.
I glance at Kai before obeying Leon's gesture to follow him. He leads us towards the stern of the ship, where a pair of wooden doors sit beneath the quarterdeck at the rear. I'm forced to dodge bustling crew members as we walk, though they make an effort to steer clear of the enforcer in front of me. 2 sets of wooden staircases lead to the deck above, where Tori now stands at the wheel, conversing with the man who is likely his navigator. Gaze falling back to the doors before us, I watch as Leon shoves them open to reveal a slim hallway. He points to the large doorway at the end of the corridor. "Captain's quarters. If he invites you to dine with him one evening, you'll get the chance to see it." His voice is deep, tone dry in a way that makes me assume he'd rather be doing anything else. "And these are your rooms," he informs, turning to the left and opening a pair of doors. I peek inside one, finding a small bed crowding most of it. My packed trunk lies on a rickety dresser that creaks with every rock of the ship. A small porthole allows foggy light to stream in and drape the cot beneath. And there, on the small bedside table, sits the stack of books Callum brought for me. Leon doesn't allow much time to examine the cabin before we're walking again. Leading us back onto the bustling deck, I blink in the searing sunlight as he lifts a large grate from the wood floor. "This is the cargo access," he says simply before stepping down the steep stairs that lead to the ship's underbelly. With a reassuring glance, Kai descends first into the dim room below. I'm halfway down the steps when the ship rocks, forcing me to wrap my fingers around the wobbly railing beside me. Leon is talking again before I've even reached the floor. "This is the berth deck, otherwise known as the gun deck. To emphasize, he gestures to the several cannons that innocently line the room. This is also where the crew sleeps. I stare at the dozens of swinging hammocks, most of which are haphazardly hung between the ominous cannons. All of them? I blurt, unable to help myself. In this one room? Yes, miss, Leon responds plainly. Only the higher officers receive cabins. The rest of the crew live and sleep here. I swallow at the thought, already feeling nauseous at the sight of each swinging hammock. But the first mate pries my gaze from the assortment of hanging fabric when he points to the right. The gun port lies that way, along with the caskets of rum and water. He swivels in the other direction. Some officers' quarters and the infirmary lie that way. Leon then points down at the deck beneath our feet where another grate rests. Ship stores, cargo hold, spare sails, rigging, and your crate of roses. Oh, and the galley. At my look of confusion, Leon adds, the kitchen. That's all down there where you will never need to go. And with that, he starts up the stairs again, saying over his shoulder, That's about it. Not much of a tour. Once again, I find myself blinking in the sudden brightness when we reach the main deck. You're free to head to your rooms or stay on the main deck. At the front of the ship, he points towards the pointed bow, you'll find the head, or simply put, a place to relieve yourself. With a glance at me, he continues, For you, miss, and the other women on board, we've added a bit of privacy to one of the toilets. I smile thinly. That is much appreciated. He nods, looking slightly apologetic before continuing. Your meals will be brought to your cabins. Where you eat them is up to you. Deliberating, Leon seems to find nothing else of importance and concludes the tour with a reassuring string of words. If you need anything at all, find me, and trust that I will find you in case of an emergency. Before I can question what emergency that might be, the first mate is walking away. My doubt forms into a single sentence. What are the odds we survive this journey? Kai runs a hand through his wind-blown hair. You tell me, little psychic. I roll my eyes. I'm sensing that we may end up in the sea before even spotting land. He smiles, and suddenly, the frigid water starts to seem like a good idea. Then I'll swim for the both of us.
Chapter 27. Kai. The ship rocks beneath me, lulling my body into a quiet place that isn't quite sleep. Lacing my hands beneath my head, I stretch out on the cot, listening to the muffled waves outside my porthole. The sea is kind today, perhaps only to lure us into a false sense of security. Water is fickle, and man is foolish enough to think we can tame it. The sun is setting beyond my small window, casting the cabin in an orange hue. I stare idly at the slatted ceiling above, unsure what to do with myself. I've never been so useless on a mission. One might find this dullness relaxing, but it's restlessness, I feel. My dinner plate sits atop the bedside table, now empty of the potatoes and beef that once filled the chipped dish. Reaching over it, I grab the bottle of rum that was graciously brought to my room and lift it to my lips. I sit up from the rough pillow, grimacing as the alcohol burns down my throat. Shit. I cough out the curse before deciding it's a good idea to take another sip. This may be some of the strongest liquor I've had in years, likely since Ava died. The thought leaves a bitter taste in my mouth that has nothing to do with the rum. My grip is tight around the bottle's neck. Since boarding the ship, I've been continuously reminded of just how dangerous it is to be alone with my own thoughts. So, I have no choice but to be with her. That is what I tell myself as I stride out into the hall and rap my knuckles against her door. Payton's voice is muffled behind the wood. Yes? Would you like some company? I call back. Is it yours? I'm afraid so, darling. All right, come in, she says, sounding amused. By turning the handle, not kicking down the door. Smiling, I do as I'm told and step into the room. She's sitting on the bed, ankles crossed in front of her, and back propped against the cabin wall. The dying sunlight streams far brighter through this porthole, splashing color and warmth over her. A worn book is held loosely between her fingers when those blue eyes flick up to mine. See? She says sweetly. That wasn't so hard. I give her a look before sprawling onto her bed, my head in her lap. Are you drinking away your boredom? She muses, looking down at me. I shake the bottle still clutched in my hand. I was. And then I remembered you are a far more appealing distraction. She rolls those bright eyes at me. Did you come in here just to flirt, Azar? Darling, I haven't even started. Groaning dramatically, she snatches the bottle from my hand. Then, I'm going to need this. Oh, don't act like you don't love it. She takes a swig of rum, twisting her face at the taste. I'm laughing before her lips have even left the bottle. She coughs and sputters and shoves the liquor back into my palm. Composing herself, Pei looks down at me with watery eyes that may just be a drop of the sea itself. There are a lot of things I pretend not to love. I still at her words. My gaze wanders over the face she tilts towards me, over every strand of silver hair falling around it. I reach up slowly, running my fingers through the shining sun-drenched pieces. My voice is a murmur, a quiet confession. You're far better at pretending than I am. Her smile is sad. I've just had more practice at it. I shut my eyes for a long moment, reminded of the wearisome life she's endured. I know. She manages a smile, her fingers suddenly closing around the bottle once again. As soon as it's pried from my hand, she's lifting it into the air. But we don't need to pretend in here. After taking another sip, she hands the rum to me between coughs. I'll drink to that, I mutter before sitting up and swallowing a mouthful. She wags a finger at me. But that means we have to be on our best behavior when and if we make it back to Ilya. Her gaze drops to the ring hugging her finger. Kit noticed that this was on the wrong finger from the night you came to my rooms. So, no more sneaking around. Let's just enjoy this time together. Because we won't get it again. I hear the unspoken words hanging between us. They mock me, just like that glinting diamond she wears. Every moment with her is spent mourning the next, awaiting the day we speak for the last time. She glances up at me, clears her throat. I went to his rooms last night. My blood chills. Did you? Words spill from her mouth, sounding more and more like a confession. I'm just trying to fix this awkwardness between us. If we are supposed to spend the rest of our lives together, I want to at least enjoy being around one another. He's so stoic with me, and that is certainly not the kid I once knew, nor is that the brother he is towards you. So I will keep befriending him in the hopes he will eventually reciprocate. She looks back at me, expectantly, brows raised. I let her words sink in before washing them down with another swig of rum. It burns in my throat. as I reach for the little purple book beside her. What are you reading? My hand is quickly halted by her quick snatching of my wrist. Did you hear anything I just said? I heard you. My hands cup her face. I did. I do. And if you want me to tell you the sheer extent of my jealousy, then I will. But I'd rather not waste what little time we have together talking about my brother, especially while I sit on your bed and try to stop myself from doing something rash with my future queen. My eyes flick between her wide ones. But when we are back in that palace, I will let you see just how much I hate that you are not mine. Peyton's mouth parts. Okay. It seems I've rendered her speechless. She clears her throat before trying again. What was it you asked? My smile is wicked. Your book, darling. Right. She takes a deep breath. It's one I loved as a child. Callum brought a few for me. I place a hand on her thigh, leaning in to watch her flip open the cover. Faded illustrations are scattered throughout the pages, as are several pencil markings I can't quite make out. My father used to read them to me, she says softly. This one was my favorite. Tell me about it, I murmur. My request makes her smile. It's about phoenixes and other mystical creatures I always wished to meet. But it was the girl in this story I liked most. She pauses on a random page, running her finger over a faint message scribbled there in crooked handwriting. I want to be powerful, like her. Peyton shakes her head at the words before closing the book. It's just a silly story. I watch her for a long moment, though she avoids my gaze. And the other books? Mostly magic and worlds I wanted to escape to. She sounds oddly bashful. Worlds where I might have fit in. I shift, laying my head back onto her lap. So, which one will you be reading to me? Her whole face lights up, and it is a beautiful thing to behold. Really? I'm all ears, Gray. Beaming, she flips to the front of that purple book. Phoenix as it is, then. My eyes fall shut when soft words begin spilling from her mouth. I'm quickly lost in the story, in the hypnotic voice that strings it together. The rocking ship lulls me into a fleeting sense of peace, while her fingers comb through my hair, tickle my skin. I picture this version of us, far in a future that will never come to pass. A happy ending in which I lie on Peyton's lap, listening to her read until the day I fade into a distant memory. But that is nothing more than a silly story of my making. So I revel in the present, in the moments where we hide from the inevitable. She reads until the sun tires and dips beneath the waves, until darkness drapes the room and smothers each word on the page. Peyton quiets, brushing a strand of hair from my brow. At the sound of her book snapping shut, I lift my gaze to her shadowed one above me. Do you? Muffled stomping from beyond the door has me swiftly sitting up. Glancing at each other, we strain to hear the commotion coming from the main deck. Clapping follows the pounding of boots, creating a symphony of chaos. Is that? Peyton quiets at the growing sound of music. That, I say, grinning into the darkness, is the sound of a poorly played fiddle. I don't give her a chance to reply before I'm pulling her off the bed. Sputtering, she manages, "What are you doing?" I turn to face her, lifting the hand that isn't wearing my brother's ring. My lips find the pad of her thumb. She sucks in a breath at the intimacy of it, at the meaning buried beneath. My pretty Pay, would you like to dance? Her smile seems to brighten the darkness. I would never pass up the chance to stomp on your toes, Malachi. I tug her close, hold her tight. She knows exactly what she's doing. My name means nothing to me until she speaks it, nothing until she claims it as her own. I kiss it off her lips, taste the very power she holds over me. My hand cups the back of her neck, fingers tangling in her short hair. She's clutching my shirt and pulling me against her. Another chorus of stomps has us breaking apart and breathing heavy. Payden laughs in that intoxicating way that makes me want to pull her mouth back to mine. But she's grabbing my hand and swinging the door open before I get the chance. I'm being tugged out into the hall and towards the double doors ahead. With a quick smile over her shoulder, she drops my hand and pushes them open. The deck sprawls before us, bathed in moonlight. Men and women of all ages dance in time to the fiddle's melody, linking arms to spin around the wood. The crew claps and stomps and crudely sings along to a song that belongs out at sea. Payden steps forward, seeming unsure even as she smiles at the scene. Spotting us from the makeshift circle of bellowing men, Leon strides over, looking less stoic than he had this morning, though the bottle of rum in his hand is likely to thank for that. As way of greeting, he answers the questioning look Payden wears. The crew always celebrates a tame day at sea. Today has been especially smooth sailing considering the Shallow's reputation. The ship rocks slightly in agreement, its hull cutting easily through lazy waves. Leon nods to the rowdy group. You're welcome to join. Have some rum, dance. Oh, and Sam's fiddle's out of tune, but believe me, it's been worse. I offer an arm to Payden. Should I hold your shoes now or wait for you to lose them? Maybe I'll just throw them at you. She smiles sweetly, so you can find them easier. My gaze lazily explores her face. A vicious little thing. When we step into the circle, Payden wastes no time before clapping to the beat. I watch her smile at the dancing before us, but more importantly, I watch those eyeing her closely. Some scowl at her presence while others barely notice the future queen among them. And before I'm dragged into a dance, I memorize the faces of those glaring men. Payden hooks her arm through mine before we're stepping in a circle. She laughs, picking up our pace and flipping around to take my other arm. We do this until I'm out of breath, until my mouth hurts from smiling at her. Rum is passed between us, as are the dance partners we link elbows with. The fiddle's quick melodies have us stomping long into the night, clapping when our feet get sore. Before long, Payden is swaying beside a sailor, singing a ballad to the sea crashing around us. I do this for her. Every dance, every smile. She seems so much more alive away from Ilya, away from the reminder of everything she is not. But out here, even surrounded by elites, we are all at the mercy of the sea. I think she finds comfort in that. So I spin her in the moonlight, smile when she laughs at my expense, and let her step on my toes.
Edric. There is little that King Edric, ruler of the first elite kingdom, fears. But this child is a tangible nightmare in his arms. You are wrong. Those are the first words out of Edric's mouth, aimed sharply at his silencer. Damien has curtly handed the king his daughter before stepping away, now holding tightly to that stoic expression plastering his features. There is a slow shake of his head. The action regretful.
I can silence no power from her, Your Majesty.
I could be mistaken, but the king has heard enough. See, the mere prospect of a powerless child sharing his name is sufficiently damning. Whispers slither their way into the silence, and with them, the ringing in Edric's ears. He looks down at the baby girl, seeing little more than her lack of power. How could he, a brawny king of gods, produce something so weak? This is an embarrassment. This is a mockery of everything the king is and believes. His green eyes grow colder with each passing moment as they drift towards Iris's dead body. She was a rarity, one that Edric had not known before her. A soul. This ability allowed her to sense and manipulate another's emotions. More than once, Iris had used it on the king to turn the pressures of ruling into a spark of happiness that he only ever felt when she was around. The child cries in Edric's trembling arms, its skin still sticky with blood. How could this nothing come from something so strong and rare? An ordinary, born of two powerful elites, is unheard of. Yet, here she is, this weak excuse for life. Each scream has the infant's bloody chest rising and falling. The action is so frail, it's almost impressive. The pathetic little heart pumping beneath her skin. The king thinks this with disgust, reminded only of the fact that his wife no longer has a pulse. But this weakness does. Edric looks down at his own daughter, hate in his heart, and sorrow welling in his eyes. Iris is dead, and it was all for an ordinary, for this embarrassment, for nothing. The king gives a command, cutting through the silence. It's even and deliberate, as though the words tumbling from his mouth don't steal the breath from every pair of surrounding lungs. Get rid of it. Feet shift. Throats clear. A healer, her hands stained scarlet, can think of nothing to say but the king's title posed as a question. Your Majesty? It killed my wife, Edric says coolly. An ordinary killed my wife. Get rid of it. Your Majesty, an advisor protests. It is merely an infant. Get rid of it. The king extends the child into the open air, pushing as much space between them as possible. His gaze is sharp enough to draw blood, and that is precisely what will happen if his demands are not met. I'll dispose of it. Edric's mind reader steps forward, extending his hands toward the crying princess, who only has these fleeting moments to be so. The king smiles tightly before handing his daughter over to the trusted fatal. This is the last time he will ever hold her. All this child will ever know is his violence and hatred before the end. See that you do, Edric orders, holding the mind reader's gaze before turning to address every other stunned stare. What you saw today did not happen. Your queen did not die giving birth to an ordinary because she passed 2 years ago when delivering me my son and heir. That is what the kingdom will know. That is what history will know. He glances over at his wailing daughter, expression void of any sympathy. This ordinary does not belong to me. It is already forgotten. As the mind reader steps from the room, a lost princess in his arms, The king barks a command at his advisors. Seal the records. Ensure that today never happened. Then he storms from the room, having rid the world of one more useless ordinary.
Chapter 28. Payton. A clap of thunder jolts me awake. I sit up, blinking in the darkness that surrounds me. The ship shakes violently, nearly tipping me from the cot. Rain pelts the porthole, the sound echoing off the glass. I sit there, stunned by how quickly the weather turned. Our second day at sea had been eerily peaceful, dragging on as I read to Kai and milled about the deck. Another sharp turn of the ship has my books toppling to the floor with a soft thud I hardly hear over the roll of thunder. Another crack of lightning follows a beat after, illuminating the room with a fleeting flash of light. I can feel each angry wave against the boat, hear the roar of rushing water so close beyond these wooden walls. Muffled shouts echo from the main deck. I stand, legs shaking atop the unsteady floor. The ship dips into a crashing wave, pitching me forward before I can find my footing. I collide with the wall, bracing my arms against it until I trust myself to take another step. Managing to stumble towards the door, I reach for the handle, fingers slipping as I'm flung forward once again. The dresser creaks behind me, mimicking each chilling groan from the ship. When I finally throw open the door, I screech at the figure standing behind it. Kai! I'm forced to yell over the storm despite my relief at seeing him. What is... My eyes fall to the dark shadow spilling slowly down the hallway. It takes me a moment to realize what it is I'm looking at, and what it means. Water. The waves are crashing over the ship, readying to swallow us all. His hands are suddenly on my hips, pushing me back. You need to stay in this room. Thunder growls all around us, shaking the very floors we stand on. Kai is kicking the door shut, closing us in this room, this watery grave. I shake my head at him, at the feel of panic rising up my throat. No, I can't be locked in here, Kai. Not now. A crack of lightning shadows his stern features. He cups my face, holding me steady when the ship lurches. Do you trust me? A trickle of water seeps beneath the door. Like death's cold finger, it reaches for me. Pay? His shout forces my gaze back to him. I nod shakily. I do. I did, even when I shouldn't have. I know the feeling. He presses his forehead to mine, breathing soft words across my skin. So I need you to stay in this room with me until we are told otherwise. My pounding heart drowns out every crashing wave, every desperate shout from the crew who wrestles them. The cabin seems to close in on me, growing smaller with the echoing thought that I can no longer leave it. The sea rages all around me, and yet it may be my own claustrophobia that drags me into death. The room is growing smaller, the ocean yawning larger. I'm going to suffocate in this cabin before the water even rushes into my lungs. My lungs. They can't seem to find air. I'm choking on a different type of sea. It's the shallow space, this ever-shrinking cabin come to crush me. My knees buckle beneath me before I'm sinking to the floor. Ears ringing, I can barely hear Kai's shouted concern behind me. He's holding my crumpled body against his as we rock back and forth with the churning waves. Something cold laps against my leg. Hazily, I look down to find death's icy finger grazing my skin. A caress and reunion all at once. He's found me once again. The last time we met, he brushed sandy fingers against my cheek in the scorches. Now, it's the raging sea he commands to drag me back to him. A muffled shout against my ear has me stirring. I place a palm in the puddle of water as if to shake Death's hand. Commend him for his resilience. Pay! Lightning flashes across the room. At the same moment, my name rings out into it. His head is tucked into my shoulder, breath warm against the bare skin there. We're going to be fine, he reassures sternly. You survived the scorches more than once. Now you'll do the same for the shallows. I nod, forcing my breath to slow. We sit on the floor, holding each other while the boat tries to throw us apart. I cling to him, every finger fisted into his crumpled shirt. He strokes my hair, whispers words of comfort. My anchor in the storm. "I have something for you," he murmurs. Still struggling to swallow my panic, I croak, "A distraction, I hope." "Something like that." He unwraps an arm from me, never fully letting me go as he struggles to shrug something from his shoulders. It's only when he sets the pack atop the damp floor that I notice it for the first time. Reaching inside, he pulls out a thinly wrapped sphere. I don't even have to ask what it is. I know that shape, know that smell. Honey. Tears prick my eyes. "You brought that from Ilya?" Another streak of lightning allows me to see the slight smile gracing his features. "Just for you." Kai lets me do the honors of unraveling the sweet dough. The honey coating my fingers has a smile tipping my lips. I forget every chilling wave that tries to tear the ship apart, every fear lodged deep in my throat. It's this sticky bun I focus on instead, and the memory of every one I've shared before. My eyes flutter shut when I finally take a bite. This dough holds every happy moment I've had in this life, and if I am to die tonight, I want it to be with this honey on my tongue. This reminder of my home, Adina. "It might be a bit stale by now," Kai starts softly. "No," I choke out. "It's perfect. That's exactly how I always ate them. How we always ate them." Thunder roars as we sway on the floor with each roll of the ship. I sink my fingers into the sticky bun, pulling it in half. Kai looks surprised when I offer him a piece. "This is for you, your distraction," he says firmly. "I want you to share it with me. Please." I wave the dough in front of him in that way Adina always used to do. I don't know how to eat one of these alone. Graciously, he nods in understanding before plucking the piece from between my fingers. I flinch at the echoing shouts that are quickly carried away on the whipping wind. "You deserve a distraction too," I say as softly as the stormy sea will allow. He brushes cool knuckles down the side of my cheek. "You are forever my distraction, darling." Water pools around my ankles, and yet I sit here with my head against his chest. We eat the sticky bun on the floor of my cabin in the middle of a raging sea, and somehow find tranquility in the violence. As if I've found the eye of the storm within him, and he in me. I wake to a soft pillow beneath my head. I certainly didn't put it there, nor did I lift my body onto the bed last night. But here I lie, snuggled beneath the covers with hands that are clean of honey. Blinking my tired eyes into focus, I sweep them over the damp floor and the spot we had occupied last night. We sat there for hours, talking over the storm and bracing ourselves against each shuddering wave. But I must have dozed off in his arms before they lifted me onto the cot. Beyond the porthole is a sky of gray, and beneath is a riled sea, likely embittered by this ship still being afloat. The ship is still afloat. A relieved smile settles on my lips as I sit up. I've survived my first storm on the shallows. Whether I live to see the next is a worry for another time. Standing to my feet, I pad across the damp floor and unlatch my trunk. A heap of neatly folded clothes greets me, though I'm quick to rummage through them in search of something comfortable to wear. I settle for a pair of fitted black pants beneath a loose blouse. Pulling my olive vest on, I run my fingers down the fraying seams and stretched pockets. It seems as though I've barely worn the gift since returning to Ilya. Instead, I've been shoved into gowns that make me think of Adina and how she can no longer make them, even in death, with those broken fingers. Dipping my hands into the fresh water basin atop the dresser, I banish the thought from my head with a cool splash across the face. With a slight shiver, I pat my skin dry and my books are on the floor. No, 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 I murmur, rushing over to collect the delicate stories. The ship still rocks enough to have me struggling with my footing, so I drop to my knees before the waves send me sprawling. I quickly gather the books into my arms, noting their rippled pages from the seawater. Cursing under my breath, I stand and head for the door. The damp spines stick to my palm as I march out onto the deck and greet the dreary sky above. Wind whips at my unbound hair, sending silver strands to obscure my vision. I fight to free my gaze, only to stop suddenly at the devastation I see. Large chunks have been torn from the railing where the sea has sunk its icy teeth into the wood. Tangled ropes lie strewn across the deck, littering the floor alongside other miscellaneous debris. The captain's bellowed commands ensure that no crew member stands idly. The ship teeters beneath me, and I stumble on legs not accustomed to the sea. The sailors surrounding me sneer at the sight before continuing to stride utterly unfazed across the slippery dock. I straighten my vest and gather what is left of my dignity as I walk carefully towards an unmarred section of railing. The wind cuts through me, stinging and salty. I lean over the railing, watching the water rush below. Its light blue and green coloring is deceitfully inviting, despite the great depth beneath its surface. And that is precisely how it earned the name Shallows for itself. Clutching 3 of the books tightly beneath my arm, I lift one into the air, letting the pages flutter in the wind. It's not the most ideal way to dry them, but it will certainly be the fastest. Snickers behind my back tell me that the crew have taken a liking to laughing at my expense. I ignore them, as I've done with every haughty elite I've been forced to live alongside, and switch books. That is when the boat dips into a wave, spraying water across the deck to thoroughly drench me. More laughter fills the air as I stand there, shivering and clutching the last piece of my childhood against a constricting chest. "Need some help, darling?" I spin on my heel, nearly tipping over when the ship bucks beneath us. But there he stands, hands shoved into pockets nearly as deep as the dimple peeking out at me. Damn him. Damn him. With the way he's looking at me, I might have just mumbled the words out loud. Nothing and no one has ever devastated me more. Not the sand, the sea, the slow brush of death's hand. Because maybe, just maybe, he is the most ruinous thing of them all. He shrugs off his coat to reveal a fitted black shirt. "Don't look at me like that." Those words seem to stir something within me, a fleeting memory muffled by several glasses of champagne. The fragile thought shatters with the chattering of my teeth. "And how am I looking at you?" His responding grin has blood rushing to my numb cheeks. He steps close, swinging the coat around my shoulders before tugging it closed. I watch his mouth form a response I never get to hear. "Oi, that was quite the storm last night." I barely know the man, and yet I recognize his voice from across the ship. Turning, I find Tori trudging towards us, long hair knotted at the base of his neck. "But she pulled through," he continues, running a hand over the chipped railing. "Though I fear this is only the beginning. The Shallows will not continue to be so kind." I clutch my books tightly beneath Kai's draped coat. If it was kindness the sea showed us last night, I'm not sure I'll live long enough to see land. "Cheer up, girl," the captain laughs at whatever it is he sees on my face. "You only need to last 4 more days, and then, well, the trip back, but we won't concern ourselves with that just yet." He finds that funny as well, and continues his chuckling all the way to the helm. I turn back towards Kai, giving him an exasperated look that never fails to make him smile. "What was it you were about to say?" I ask, curiosity momentarily grabbing hold of my tongue. He seems to ponder this, and his gaze drifts out over the water. "Nothing I haven't said before." And that is the only answer he offers before extending a hand to me. "Now put me to work. These books need to dry before you read one to me tonight." I huff in amusement before placing one of the damp covers in his awaiting palm. Flipping open to a particularly crinkled page, Kai holds the book into the wind. I do the same, my teeth chattering beside him. We must look ridiculous, leaning against the rail and holding literature in the air. I almost laugh at the odd picture we paint, but the view of rushing water around us steals my frigid breath away. The horizon stretches in every direction, nothing but a rippling blanket of blue. "Do you ever wonder if there's anything else out there?" I ask, my words nearly snatched away by the wind's cold fist. Kai flips to another page. Well, other than the myths, he shrugs. I'm not sure. The myths? His brows lift. Have you never heard of Astrum? The birthplace of shadows and the death of a great love? He recites this as though I should know the phrase by heart. My father... I nearly stumble over the word, now knowing the truth and mystery behind it. Didn't waste his time teaching me myths. In fact, he barely had time to educate me on things that actually do exist. I finish with a pointed look at the prince. Of course. Yet he had time to read you a story about... He thumbs through several pages of the book between his fingers. A horse with fangs, and that's enough, I laugh, snatching the book from him. Shit, no wonder you're afraid of horses, Gray. I roll my eyes. You were saying about Astrum? Kai throws me a grin before flipping open another damp book. Well, many people believe Astrum existed long before Ilya. There, they live in a constant state between dawn and dusk, thanks to the separated lovers, the sun, Solus, and the moon, Luna. He continues despite the skeptical look I give him. Shadows are precious there. They are a power that can be stolen. I startle when he snaps the book shut. You know what? I bet the captain has a copy. A hoarse laugh falls from my mouth. There's a book about this? Kai's already set a steady pace towards the captain's quarters. Of course there is. Tori likely has one because every sailor does. They're always looking for the city, hoping they can be the first to find it. I shake my head at his back. This is absurd. You live in Ilya, home of elites, and you think this is absurd? I hum in agreement. It is the most I will do to acknowledge that he may be right. Before pushing through the double doors that lead to our rooms, Kai turns to face me. It's called Shadow and Soul. The corner of his mouth twitches. And I'm looking forward to hearing you read it tonight.
Chapter 29. Kai. My chest rises and falls beneath her back. Peyton sits between my legs atop the bed, her spine pressed against my beating heart. I can feel every vibration of her soothing voice as she reads a piece of her past self to me. It's no wonder she grew up to be so formidable if the women in these stories helped raise her. They are fearless, their stories thrilling. She tore through Shadow and Soul, despite claiming it was only to appease me. A terrible defense, seeing that she would never do anything that she didn't already want to do. So her disguised interest in the tale had us reading long into the night. We spent longer still discussing the story after she snapped the book shut, unable to contain her annoyance at wanting more. Now, she reads yet another one of her own books, and I am more than content to listen to the words falling from those familiar lips. I wrap an arm around her waist, letting my eyes flutter shut. This is how we have occupied ourselves over the last 2 days. It has become our distraction during the never-ending storm that is the shallows. The sea has yet to stop raging since early yesterday morning, and with night now falling on our 4th day at sea, Peyton has nearly read me 3 books. The ship grows more nauseating with each violent roll and dip. In fact, when I'm not in the presence of Pei, I can likely be found emptying the contents of my stomach over the boat's railing. But it's her voice that seems to keep the stale biscuits and salty beef down. The lantern on my bedside table teeters on the edge, ready to careen towards the wet floor after a particularly rough rocking of the ship. My free hand reaches out to steady it at the same moment Peyton quiets. What? I ask, clutching her closely when lightning flashes into the room. That was the end of the chapter. I rest my chin against her shoulder, pointing to the page. Well, there's another one beside it. So, go on. Kai. She laughs out my name, and I wonder if she knows what it does to me. It's getting late. I tilt my head to study her profile. Are you implying that you're tired? Of you? She smiles. Very. My mouth twists. If you're going to continually lie about wanting me, at least try to make it believable. You know, she says calmly, there's still plenty of time for me to throw you overboard. See? I knew you couldn't go more than a couple days without threatening me. She turns to face me then, folding her legs so they rest against mine. Because I know how much you like it. How very thoughtful of you. Thunder shakes the very bed we sit on while waves pound against the ship. She presses a startled hand to my thigh, fingernails digging into the flesh beneath my pants. I can still see the terror that flashes in her gaze, but it's lessened into something far more tolerable. Something like numbness. Without a story to distract her, without words to form on the lips she chews with worry, Peyton fiddles with the still ring on her thumb. I should get back to my room. I tilt my head. And why is that? Because, she sighs, the crew has already seen enough to gossip about when we get back to Ilia. She flinches at a sudden flash of lightning. If we make it back. All the more reason to stay with me tonight. She untangles her legs from mine to slide from the cot. Still not convinced. And if I said please? She stills beside the bed, her body swaying with the rolling waves. Pei's eyes meet mine and suddenly I'm back in the palace, back to that night when I begged her to stay with me after watching her die in my nightmare. I'm reliving that moment, only this time it's my own selfish desires that have me needing her beside me. Swallowing, she crosses her arms. Well, go on then. I chuckle at her insistence before standing to my feet right as the ship bucks violently. Caught off guard, Peyton comes careening towards me with a gasp. I catch her against my chest, feel her body melt against mine. My head dips until our noses brush. Stay with me. Please. Her head shakes, but she's wearing a smile. I nudge her nose again as I murmur, my pretty, pretty Pei. She laughs breathlessly. Stay with me. I press my forehead to her own. Stay with me. Stay with me. Fine. She laughs out the word while offering a gentle flick to the tip of my nose. Fine. I'll stay. I smile for her. Only her. Always her. I was prepared to plead. She gives me a look. You would not. Oh, darling. I would do so much worse if you only asked. I tuck a strand of hair behind her ear with a smile. Or, even more difficult, so much better. You know, she says slowly, you're not nearly as terrifying as you seem. Not to you. Never to you. I sit down beside her, feeling the ship rock viciously all around us. She looks at me, eyes as bright as the sea itself. I stare into them, memorizing the multitude of hues they hold in the flickering lantern light. My favorite color is a shade of her, a sliver of the vibrant she exudes, and I will gladly drown, gladly burn, gladly fall into those blue eyes until the day she looks at me for the last time. Don't look at me like that, she breathes. My lips twitch. This is the only way I've ever looked at you, darling. Her smile grows uncharacteristically timid. I lean forward, grabbing our book to flip deftly through the pages. Well, you might as well keep reading since you're here. So, that's why you wanted me to stay. Her scoff is accompanied by a shake of the head. So I'll read to you, among many other reasons. She hits me with the pillow, including your wonderful company. You're unbelievable, Azar. My eyes flick to the dimly lit bed we occupy. Not the first time I've been told that in a setting like this. The pillow collides with my face, muffling her laugh behind it. I'm jolted awake to the rumbling of thunder. I lift my head off the pillow to... Oh, shit. Pain pounds beneath my skull, growing sharper by the second. I vaguely wonder if my temple had met the bedside table during the night to cause this current throbbing. My head feels heavy as I turn to face her. Dull moonlight creeps over Peyton to mingle with her silver hair. It's fanned across the pillow, surrounding the placid face she wears in sleep. The covers have been kicked down below her feet, and I'm shocked to see she isn't shivering without them. My head aches as I sit up to grab the forgotten quilt. I'm about to throw it over her when I lean in close, my mouth mere inches from meeting her forehead. I stop suddenly, my eyes scanning her face, the bridge of her nose. There can't be more than 10. I jerk back, staring at the body beside me. This is not my pay. I still my mind and focus on the distant thrum of powers beneath my skin. Flash, tele, hydro. And that's when I feel it. Close and strong and to blame for this. Staring at those 10 freckles, I throw the blanket over her. It meets nothing but air as Peyton's body vanishes. Illusion. I jump from the bed, my pounding head clearing enough to realize that I have been drugged, all so someone could rip her from my bed. Boots are suddenly on my feet before I'm buckling a sword around my waist. I shove open the door and do the same to those awaiting me at the end of the hall. It's as though I've stepped out into the sea itself. Wind whips at my thin shirt, instantly numbing every inch of me. Water pours from the sky to pelt my skin and soak me to the bone. I can barely keep my footing on the drenched deck as waves continually crash over the railing. The ship groans with each dip into the water, leaving me swaying like a drunk as I try to keep my balance. I stride out further onto the deck, struggling to see anything through the sheets of rain. "Where is she?" I shout the words into the storm, hoping the whipping wind will carry them towards the scattered crew members. It's the sea that responds with a towering wave, drawing my attention to the far end of the boat. I squint through the rain, watching water curl over the railing to drench the 3 figures huddled there. The illusionist's ability burns hot beneath my skin, growing stronger with every step I take towards the group of men. I feel for the other powers, finding a telly and gust awaiting me. My heart beats wildly against my soaking shirt as I stride towards them. When the ship pitches violently, I drop to a knee until I'm able to get my feet beneath me. The men grow closer, clearer against the rain. The 3 of them. No, not 3. The world goes quiet, the storm fades, lightning dulls. There are 4 figures beside that railing. One of them is gagged and bound, her arms tucked tightly behind her back. She still wears that green vest, having fallen asleep with a comfort wrapped around her. The men have her raised in the air, 2 of them clutching her roped ankles while the other sinks his fingers into her shoulders. I found her. Lifting Peyton towards the rail, they grin as she thrashes in their hold, desperately trying to free herself. And something snaps in me at the sight. I unleash that piece of myself that Father carved into me, that lethal sliver of darkness he once commanded at will, having known it by name, created it in the depths of his dungeons in every one of my fears, in a shadowed home with my sword through an innocent man's chest. It's a piece of death himself that lives within me. And now, I command it. I grip the telly's power in my hand, feeling the ability course through me. My steps don't falter or slow, nor does my soul repent for what I'm about to do to theirs. With little more than a vengeful thought, I throw the gust over the ship's edge. It's a lazy toss that has his head cracking against the wood before he's plummeting into icy water. After watching a wave swallow their friend, the other 2 men whip around to find me steadily striding towards them. Payden's legs drop to the ground, her frantic gaze widening when it lands on me. The men react the same, though it's fear filling their eyes, not relief. And I smile at it. Payden struggles against the illusionist's grip while the telly steps towards me. Even through the pouring rain, I recognize his blurry face. This is one of the men who was watching Payden dance that first night on the ship. He throws out a strand of power, wrapping it around my neck. It feels as though a phantom noose has been knotted against my throat, squeezing hard enough to have black creeping in the corners of my vision. He's choking me with his ability. Pathetic. All that power, and this is how he thinks I'll meet my end? I can no longer breathe, but I've faced far worse from my own father. Closing the distance between us, I throw a punch at his face, and when he dodges like I knew he would, it's already too late. My left hand is drawing my sword from its sheath and slicing the blade across his stomach within one swift movement. His choking hold on my throat drops at the same moment he does. I suck in a breath before rolling my tight neck. The man sprawls onto the wood before me, blood gushing from the deep gash, even as water pelts the wound. A stream of scarlet quickly seeps out beneath him, staining the deck before the rain can wash it away. I step over his body, not offering him another glance. Pushing dripping hair from my brow, I turn back to Payden and the illusionist. With his eyes locked on mine, he lifts her bound body into his arms. The tip of my blade is pressed to his heart within the next beat of it. I shake my head, panting. Put her down, and I won't make you suffer. He holds my gaze, body rigid beneath my blade. I'll die before seeing an ordinary sit on Ilya's throne. My sword plunges into his heart at the same moment he throws Payden over the railing. A scream rips from my throat, lost in the raging storm. I don't think. I don't breathe. I don't hesitate to leave my sword buried in the sailor and dive towards the railing. She's falling to her death. The gag has slipped from her mouth to allow a chilling scream. Those blue eyes are locked on mine as she plummets further and further, and the telly's power grows weak beneath my skin. He's barely alive, but barely is all I need. Tugging at that power, I hurl it towards her bound body. The ability grows taut, like an invisible rope has wrapped itself around her waist. I grit my teeth as her falling weight slams against my mind, and her body hangs suspended above the waves. Her head falls back, silver hair brushing the hungry water awaiting her. I strain to lift her towards me even as a piercing pain cuts through my mind. When the ship threatens to tip from a vengeful wave, I'm nearly thrown over the splintered railing. Urging myself to focus, I will her towards me, commanding my tired mind to obey. A wave crashes over the ship, soaking Payden's hanging body before meeting my own. The force of the water nearly pulls her down, but I fight to keep her rising upward. Grunting against the pain in my head, I reach towards her, stretching my dripping arms over the railing. Her head lifts then, our eyes locking in a moment that even time cannot contain. She stares at me with a sort of fear I've never seen her wear. And maybe I'm looking at her the same, like nothing has ever terrified me more than losing her. And that is when the telly's power flickers and dies beneath my skin.